All right, everyone. Well, welcome one more time. Thanks for everyone for making the time in this busy Friday. Hopefully will make your um, time worth it to be here. This is probably one of my favorite. I'm gonna say this is my favorite webinar of all time. Sorry, Rob. This is gonna be the one that's actually be super exciting, super actionable, and something you can use right away after this call. And the things you can do with it is just truly unlimited. So, without further ado, the topic of today's webinar is specifically Claude Connector. It's going to take up, I think, most of the today's presentation, and that is going to be a small introduction to Claude if you have not used Claude before, and its capabilities now with StudySpaces. So, what are how those two connect together, and what you can do with it. We'll also cover this new feature, or should I call it a set of features called StudyBites that has been available to a lot of clients for a long time and should be something now in a way that is a lot easier to use and easier to also present to your students. So today's agenda are those two big items, and we'll talk about obviously, those are the two main dishes. We have a lot of side dishes as well. So a lot of things that we have launched in the last few weeks or months, and some things that we are about to launch. When I say about to launch, this is not some things that we're thinking about. This is things that we're either in development or something going on in testing that we're gonna release pretty soon. And the way I want to do this is we're going to have a Q&A pretty much at the end of each section that here. So if people have questions related to the topic at hand, and we can also do one big Q&A at the end, just in general. The Q&A at the end will not be recorded, so I will stop recording before that, but Q&As in between will be recorded. So if you want it to be on the record, you can ask that during the presentation. All right, so with this, let's get started. So I think when Claude launched, it's been really a useful tool for a lot of things, including students and teachers. In fact, our first startup before StudySpaces was a consumer application that let people turn their materials into flashcards and question banks, and that was a something we attempted in 2023, 2024. Since then, we went through a lot of variations and finally came in full circle where we can now use or have Claude control study spaces or be able to talk to study spaces in a way that's should be very natural to a lot of people. So our Claude connector, we'll go through a real demo right now. But in short, the idea is that you can tell it what you want to do on the platform, and it will just do it. It has access to your workspace, so it is scoped to your permissions of your role. So if you're an owner, it has a little more access than if you're an admin or if you're a tutor. It has access to your library, your workspace library. It has access to your questions. It has access to your students, their submissions and results. So it can interact with it the way that you would interact from the UI perspective. So without further ado, let's actually start with our first use case. If you have not seen it yet, you will find the Claude connector under, if you're an owner, you will see it under Settings, Advanced, and Integrations. This is where you should be able to see Claude connector. If you're an admin, you will see it as an option right here called Integrations. If you're a tutor, it should be something similar, where you will see a sidebar item called Integrations. Your tutors, your admins, or yourself as an owner can go and follow these steps. I'm going to help you do that right now. It should be super, super simple. But the idea is that you have to have a Claude account. So to do that, I'm going to switch over to Claude.ai. This is their homepage. And here you can click on plus, click on connectors, and click on manage connectors. The idea of a connector is that the Claude can talk to the application and perform actions in that application. As you can see, I already have a lot of other connectors connected here, my Calendly, my Gmail, my Google Calendar, my Granola, and other things. And one of them is StudySpaces. To make StudySpaces appear here, what we have to do is click on Add and click on Custom Connector. If you're getting lost in the steps already, these steps are available already here in this. So it's Settings, Connectors, click on Add Custom Connector. And here you can type in the name of the application. It's going to be StudySpaces. And for the URL, you'll be typing in this URL that we provide here. The moment you click on Connect, it will ask you for what we call an API key. And this is the API key that will be provided that you can copy it and just paste it into your application. Remember that these API keys are not shareable. So if you have other tutors who are asking you for Claude access, do not just send them your API. It means when they're using Claude, it will think it's you. So every user in your organization should be getting a separate credential to be able to connect to their own accounts. The moment you connected, you would be sent to a view like this. And here where things get a little more interesting. So we have 37 tools right now available through our Claude connector. When we first launched this in beta mode in about, I think, a month ago, we had about 10 tools. Across time, we have discovered new use cases, we've talked to people, and then figure out things that people want to do with the connector. Most of them, actually, I don't even know what the tools are available for the other connectors that I'm connected to. So you don't have to actually read through these tools at all. Just make sure that when it comes to permissions, you can keep everything always allow. And the reason I say that is because we don't do any deletion or hard deletion operations. So that should be very, very safe in terms of that. But if you want to take a look at them and specifically ask it to needs approval for certain actions, you can definitely do that as well. So my favorite use case is actually if you just connected your StudySpaces to your Claude, is to just go here and just ask it, what can I do with my StudySpaces connector? This will give you a ton of use cases that we didn't even think of before. The idea is that it's looking at a possible set of tools that are available and come up with interesting use cases, especially given your context. Like maybe you have already talked to Claude about some projects that you're working on, you're working with schools and families or certain use cases, or maybe able to connect the dots for you and see how it's possible to make that happen with the StudySpaces connector. So here it's covering things like students and classes, question bank, content creation, diagnostics, and some utilities. So let me go through the first flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new chat in here, and I'm going to paste it in this prompt. So for people who are not new to StudySpaces, before I do this, I would actually like to show you how this current flow works on StudySpaces. So if you were as a tutor, and if you wanted to assign 10 hard inference questions for Jam that he hasn't seen yet, and then build it into a worksheet and assign it for next Saturday, um, if you want, you can start counting, and I will start the flow of actually doing this on our platform. So you would find a student, just Jam. I'm lucky. I'm the only one in this workspace. You will click on Create Assignment. You'll click on Quiz, Question Database. You will click on the questions that I have not seen yet. Then I have to find tag called Inferences, which we do have Inferences. And I want to make this limited to hard questions only. And I have 33 hard questions. Then I want to select 10 of them and then add them to my worksheet and assign it for, we said next Saturday, that's going to be 8. And then this is going to go make it an SAT, save and schedule. It took me maybe about 15 clicks to get there. I gotta say, this is probably the best flow that we could come up with in about, I think, 6 months ago. And people really, really, really love this flow. But if you can make things simpler, why not? I just type in find 10 hard inference questions Jam has not seen yet and build them into a worksheet, assign it for next Saturday. And I'm going to have it take over. So It knows, it doesn't know exactly who Jam is, but it knows how it has access to my students list, so it can figure out who I'm referring to. If there's two jams, it will ask you like, oh, which of the jams did you mean? It will also, if it cannot find a tag called inference, it will also ask you or let you know that it cannot find that either. So, okay, it already realized that I already have an inference assignment I just made for Jam, so it says, but we'll need to exclude it all already. So, and this is kind of important. If you see that inference, the assignment I just assigned for Jam has not been taken by Jam, but it knows that there's an assignment already made, so we're going to exclude the questions from it. So while this goes on, I'm going to take you over to the next use case, which is probably my favorite. As you guys know, there was a recent release of College Board questions, and I was actually trying to figure out if I can have my Claude take a look and analyze those questions. Maybe about a year ago, when we started this analysis, it was really, really difficult to do that type of analysis because it would struggle with images, it would struggle with tables, it would struggle with even things like underlines. Um, but now I can actually drop in a little spoiler alert. We have a new SSAT tests coming up into our library that you should be excited to use. Will be available in our content store. And I wanted to get one of those SSAT tests into our workspace. I don't even have to show you how difficult that would be to get there. We have our AI extractors, but still that would take a lot of process, a lot of cleanup, a lot of tagging. All I did is I uploaded the PDF on there and I said, this is one of the tests that we have developed for SSAT Upper, and I want this loaded up in StudySpaces as a full mock exam. So I gave this over a little while ago. So let's see what's going on here. So it has gone through a lot of them. It actually found two errors in the PDFs that it wants me to take a look at. But at the end of it, it has saved this as a test on here. Let me take a look. And okay, it has not saved it yet, but it is going through the questions and has extracted it extracted quant, reading, and then the quant 2 sections already. And it has identified 6 figures, 8 passages, and 8 figures on here. So I'm going to have it continue this so it can write this. So the idea here is that if you have, let's say, an SAT adaptive test that you want to load into StudySpaces, or an ACT one, or you have an SSAT one that you have authored that you want to bring in and assign to your students as an assignment, you can drop into your Claude. It will do a lot of this cleanup, a lot of the tagging, and then the structure of the mock exams to a point where it's assignable in one click. I'm going to take a little pause here and see if there's any questions that I can answer. I keep looking on this side because I have the people on this side. All right, let me take a pause here. Do we have any questions before we move on, or actually move back into a live one demo? It's like there's a chat question. You see? Does this work for the free version of Claude? Yes, it does. Yes. I think when it comes to model choice, you can, this works with any of the Claude models. So I'm using Opus 4.8 or Fable. You don't have to use those models, especially if it's a simpler task. You can just use any of the uh, models that are much, much faster as well. All right. So I'm going to move back to our first demo where we were creating a 10 inference questions that Gem has not seen yet. And as you can see, it's not sure about one thing, which is that I said assign it for next Saturday, but it says, well, tomorrow is Saturday. Do you mean tomorrow or do you mean next, like August 8th? It says, okay, I want to make it August 8th. And then very important question, especially if your tutors are using this, it's creating this new worksheet. Do you want me to save it and make it private to you so we don't pollute the entire library of the workspace? Or do you want to keep it shared? Or do you not even want to save this in the library? It's going to be just for the student. So I'm going to choose actually the first option so I can actually take a look at it afterwards. So now it's going to assemble those questions and then start the creation process. So at this point, you can also see that it has access to the contents of the questions. So it has already decided which of them it will assign. And then now it has called our create worksheet tool. Then it's also previewing the assignment. And now the assignment has finished. So if you ask it, it will also give you a link to preview the assignment. So you will see that it already gave me the link. I'm going to click on this and it should take me to the inferences hard worksheet one that was created that I can assign, that has been assigned to my student that I can take a look and look at it. So it picked these questions. And indeed, they are all inferences and they're all hard questions as well. All right, so that is our demo number one. For demo number two, it looks like it has written 150 questions into our mock exam already. Let me take a look at that. Well, I guess not yet. Still writing. All right, we'll come back in there. All right, third one. We have a new do we have a question? Maybe not. Okay. All right. We'll come back to that question separately. Uh,
Yeah, I think there's a mic issue. I'll DM them directly to see. Maybe they can chat.
yeah. Okay. So for the third demo, we have an assignment type called lessons. And a lot of people have been really excited about that before. But one of the problems we had with lessons is that it is really kind of hard to make. This is a very powerful tool. You can have graphics and visuals, but you have to kind of type it in and make it happen. And it takes a lot of work to make beautiful looking lessons that you can give to your students. And we thought it would be actually a fantastic use case to make this happen through Claude. So let's say I want to make something, build a lesson on cross-text connections using my questions in my library on StudySpaces. It looks like it already finished this, so let me take a look at this. So this pulled in questions from my database, and it has made this lesson that is assignable to a student or a cohort, and we can put as an on-demand content. So I'm not sure about the content of it. I haven't looked at the content of this exact lesson, but the fact that you can actually give it your own lessons and have it rebuild on StudySpaces is also going to be a huge time saver, especially for folks who have lessons that live in Google Drive that can also connect to Claude. All right. So that is the third. There's a third live demo I wanted to show you. But there are so many more use cases. And I'll list out a few, but just specifically, for example, reports for schools and families. So if you're selling to schools, or if you're going to schools to give presentations, or if you're working with schools and families, you can create this very nice reports using the student data on StudySpaces. If you have cohorts and you want to look at their historical data, or you want to create mock data for those students and be able to create this and give it to students, give it to your schools and families, that'd be a great way to do that. I actually find the Claude's ability to create PDFs, which is like the report PDF, to be really, really nice and fantastic. Um, Whenever your our Q banks come up short, you can create new questions. I've seen people have their own skills on Claude of creating very specific questions on certain topics. If you can create those questions, from there on, all you have to do is say, save this to StudySpaces, and that's it. That is the only step you have to say. Just save this to StudySpaces. It's going to go ahead and say that. There's no copy pasting involved. There's no exporting involved. It knows how our systems save materials. It can keep your images intact. It can keep your math formulas intact, and it will just bring it up into our platform. Progress at a glance is really nice if you're working with 30 students. I know it might be hard to keep everyone in mind, although we have some nice views where you can look at everyone's results all at once. You can, if you want to figure out like who's improving the most this month or who is not doing that well this month, it can give you some nice reports on that as well. Cohort triage is one of my favorite use cases. The reason being is that this is a little harder to do on our UI. But if you have a cohort, let's say a summer cohort of 15 students, and you're trying to figure out what is the topic, like what is the topic that everyone is struggling on? So if I'm having a session with everyone, what should I focus on? That is a question that is so easily answerable with this one prompt. It can take a look at all the recent submissions. It can analyze that and give you back the answer based on your data. Diagnostics. So run your lead gen funnel. The idea is that it has access to our diagnostics feature. If you have not used our diagnostics feature, I do recommend checking it out. It is a free tool that you can host any of your mock exams publicly, and you can give it as a lead gen or as a first diagnostic to your prospective students. So the moment they become a tutoring student for you, those results flow right back into the account. And the last one is question tagging. Very, very cool feature. If you have a bunch of questions, we know how tagging could be really, really difficult and it could get very, very messy. So if you have 100 questions and you have a set of tags that you want to use to tag them all, you can just point Claude at it, give your tags, and it's going to go through and tag those questions for you. It already has access to the tags present in the workspace, so it's not going to double create them if it finds that there's already a tag for that. All right. This is our, I guess, final Q&A for Claude before we move on to our StudyBites feature. All right. Well, I hope everyone gets to play around. I know there's already about 20 companies who have access to this, so there's been a lot of usage on the Claude. So I want people to use it even more and let us know what new use cases come up. I think a cool part of this is that at any point, if Claude cannot do something, you can actually just tell it to send me a message so we can add a new tool for it. So if there's a missing capability or missing link in one of our toolings, that we will go and add that and make sure that you can do that next time. All right, so StudyBites. Everything that your students can do on their own that uses your content and delivered under your brand. The whole idea is actually our entire company as StudySpaces, we started as StudyBites. The idea being that you can host your own question bank and you can sell it as an educational product to your students. So when the students are not doing tutoring with you, what are they doing apart from that? Are they coming back and doing quizzes? Are they coming back doing flashcards? Are they getting any type of engagement from your side, from your company to come back and then use the platform to do more homework, to do more practice? So that is the whole point of StudyBites. And now we put it together into one product. The way we think about it is that a lot of the times you and there was a whole discussion actually in one of our communities where people were talking about students getting tutoring too early. If they are a freshman, maybe coming in and trying to get tutoring, or if they are even earlier than that. A lot of the times, if you want them to get started with something a little maybe lower effort than tutoring or lower commitment than tutoring, this is a great way to get them started, where they'll be getting a daily practice. They can do adaptive practice. They have some gamified features like streaks and leaderboards that they can play with. So without further ado, let me show you how it works in practice. For any of your classrooms, you will see an option called StudyBites. It's going to say either enabled or disabled for you. When you go in there, it will show you the first thing, which is content sources. So currently, my classroom it has 174 questions available for people to study on their own. This is not part of assignments. This is not part of the mock exams I give them. This is not part of um, uh, anything else, but specifically to be used as a self-study. You can also add flashcards in here. So if you have created flashcards and for them to study, anything that you've already set up in your on-demand side of things and will be included if that feature is on, and you will see things like classroom content. It means that this is an on-demand content available to student at any time. If you're not sure what on-demand in this case means, you can take a look under the content section of the classroom. The the second part is what we call practice modes. And this you may have seen already. We have four types of practice modes, starting with daily practice, custom practice, adaptive practice, and flashcard practice. For every one of them, you have a chance as an owner, as an admin, to configure this. You can say you can turn this on, you can turn this off. But the best is for the daily practice, we've added a new option to send reminders. So if you choose to, every day or every weekday or every weekly, your students will get an email once a day that says something like this. Hey, time for your daily practice. Go ahead and finish your 5-question quiz today. It could be 5 questions, it could be 10 questions. You can decide the questions per day. You can also decide things like whether you want this materials to be mixed subject or single subject. So there's a lot to configure there. Similar things for custom practice and adaptive practice. For ones who has not seen adaptive practice, it is essentially a way for students to work on their weaknesses first. So we bubble up all their weaknesses. So we give them questions from the tags that they're not good at. Well, where the daily practice is a little more random. Um, and last options are gamification. This is the daily streaks and leaderboard. Leaderboard is going to be within the scope of the classroom. And the metric we use for the leaderboard is the number of questions they've answered this month. It's not the number of questions they got right. We do it by the effort. Um, and when you have these things available, what it looks like to the students is something like this. So when they log in, they will see things like daily quiz, custom practice, adaptive practice. They will see their streaks and their leaderboards. And whenever they get email, they'll be sent to this daily quiz mode where they can start a quick daily questions quiz and get them engaged with the platform. All of these results will be available to you as well. You can see everything that they're doing as a student on the platform under their history. It will also um, contribute to their analytics. All right, so I'm going to go back in here. It's the 3 steps I talked about, the content sources, practice modes, and gamification. The way we think about this is there's really 2 ways that people have been using this. And as I said, this feature has been alive for a long time. We really just rebranded it and made it easier to use and set up. One is downsell. So if you have a student who's not ready for tutoring yet, you can put them onto this platform where they can study on their own for some time until they're ready for tutoring. You're actually getting data on them already in terms of like what are their weaknesses, their strength. Um, or it's the upsell. So in this case, you're already working with a student and they've kind of gone through everything that they could ever use, and they need more practice than your usual student. And that could be an upsell opportunity for them. Just give them more to do on the platform as opposed to others. And everything lives under your brand, as you know. If you have not used your white label opportunity yet, you should. We will white label every single student portal, so it lives under your own URL, under your own brand. All right, that is the our last Q&A before we move on to some other exciting things that we've launched last month. And also a moment for me to drink some water. Mm. Okay, we have a question in the chat that says, what happens when you have multiple students on StudyBites and you want to let them have different have access to different options: daily practice, custom practice, adaptive practice? That is a good question that came up a lot. Currently, all of the buttons available to everyone in the classroom. The only one we are giving a little more differentiation to is the daily practice. We noticed that we don't want to send emails to everyone, so we've given you an option to limit it by a certain cohort if you need to. So that is the kind of a level of personalization you can do at the moment for these features.
Yeah, and I just put a note there. So everything is set up on StudyBites. Um, oh, is my camera off? Yeah, everything is set up on StudyBites does apply to the whole classroom. So every student in that classroom is going to have the same experience. I have heard with our demo accounts that have been testing out StudyBites before today's announcement, a lot of tutors have a lot of creative ideas how they want to set it up, and sometimes you want students to have different experiences. You can always set up more than one classroom. Like Jem mentioned, if you want to use this as a lead capture option, you can set up a dedicated self-study classroom, and you only use that for students who are not part of your tutoring package. But then you can also set up another classroom where you do active tutoring and still enable study bites within it. And both of those study bites experiences can differ on those two classrooms. So you can get as creative as you want. If you see any limitation, let us know. That's how we keep making that better.
Yeah, thank you. All right, moving on to our what's new. Some things you may have seen
There's
before.
another question actually.
Oh,
Sorry.
there's one more question.
Yeah,
Please,
I
please.
was just
Uh,
going to respond. So Ren is saying, would you create a separate classroom for trial users? Would they be automatically enrolled if they take a diagnostics? Yes, you could create a separate classroom for trial users. They do not get automatically enrolled, but that is a great idea. We could set it
mhm,
up as a config that for a specific diagnostic, you can decide if they complete it, they get enrolled into a classroom
yeah.
automatically. I'll
Mhm.
lock that down. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ren.
yeah, it's a good idea. And we already have a lot of automations available through Zapier as well. So this is something that is already possible that you can connect through Zapier. We have what we call web hooks available on Zapier whenever someone finishes the diagnostic, so they can be added to a certain classroom. All right. So for our ACT folks in here, if you have seen the announcement or not, we support full paper assignment for any of the official ACT materials, including the 10 enhanced tests that we have. This means that for any, if you ever were to assign a mock exam to a student, you can assign it on paper. They'll be able to print it on their end and be able to submit their results in a digital Scantron, and everything comes back fully graded with full analytics as if they took it digitally and there's a digital trace of it. Um, this is not only the case for this is not only the case for um, mock exams, it's also for quizzes. If you have worksheets that you want them to do in like print it out and then do it in person, you also have that option. If you have a worksheet, we have an option. This is assign on paper that will let them print it out and on their end. We have heard feedback, and I want to acknowledge that there is also a need potentially to integrate paper tests with our diagnostics feature so that people can take, whenever they're sending over a diagnostic to a student, they want them to be able to take it on paper and submit the results. It is something that we are considering, not in progress yet. I cannot say that, but we have heard that, and that is a use case that's pretty interesting. Payment links. I think this is one that maybe it we announced the least, but it is very interesting feature. So we have heard from people that, especially with the StudyBites setup, that they want to have a link on their landing page where students can just buy access to their on-demand, their self-study products. So now, as an owner, you can actually create what we call payment links that whenever someone pays a certain amount, they'll be automatically added to a classroom. So this way, if for folks, if you've seen it before, we have student billing now. So it means you can actually pass on the cost of the platform to the students. This will automatically take care of that. If you were ever to play with it, this would be under your billing. I hope I have that here. Okay, it would be under billing. Once you set up your Stripe payments, it means you need the ability to take payments. So Stripe, if you have not set it up, I would recommend setting up regardless. There's a lot of cool use cases that comes with Stripe payments. Just the idea is that so we can pay you whenever we get paid from your students. So let's move on to our third one, which is our most recent one. The Bluebook has released recently some improvements to their user experience. That is, they made the calculator resizable. They also made it available for images to be zoomed in and out, including the reference sheet. They also added a new page called the Check Your Work page. This is right before you move on to the next section, a next module. There's a page where you can look at all the questions that you have reviewed. So we have matched up with those improvements, and those are all available on the platform now. All right. Now, what is coming up next? So number one request we had for a longest time is group study boards. If you have ever used our study boards feature, you know how important it would be for you to be able to use it with a cohort of students, because it would be really nice when you do classes, everyone to be able to be on the same whiteboard, looking at the same questions, being able to interact with those questions. If you have not used the study boards yet, you are missing out. You should definitely do that. Um, so that is the group study boards is the number one thing that is coming to our platform. Should be in the next few days already. Error logs. So there was a huge discussion in the tutor community regarding error logs. Some people call it error logs, some people call them student reflections. It's a way for students to reflect on the questions that they have missed and be able to take notes on those questions. We are giving your students an option to reflect on those and give the tutors ability to review those error logs together with the student on your end. Um, Classroom customization. We talk a lot about this being your platform, your own branding, your URL, your um, logo, and even emails we white label. The only thing we have not white labeled so far is your colors. So with this new change, you will be able to also customize the colors of the platform. So all the buttons, all the interactions the students has on their end, you can make it like yours. And the last update is our new content that's coming up. We have our own SAT Q bank for people who are really hungry for content, even more content. We have our own SAT Q bank coming up that will launch alongside four new SSAT upper SSAT practice tests. This is all will be available through the content store at no cost. If you have a platform subscription, it means you should have access to those. I would recommend if you don't do SSAT to not add them to your library because it might pollute your library and make it harder to use over time. But if you're doing SSAT, this is a great way to have them set up. Um, Okay, there's a question in the chat that I want to answer. It might be important for people to know. Would the payment links work for recurring subscriptions? If let's say you want to give students access on a monthly level so they can cancel whenever they want. Yes. So whenever you're setting up, you have two options, recurring and fixed. So you can set it, oh, I want to charge for 3 months access, and then they get kicked off the platform, or you can charge it on a recurring basis. And that could also be every 3 months or every 4 months or every month.
And funny enough, on the demo accounts that already set this up over the last couple of weeks, there is a few tutoring companies that are now getting paid by StudySpaces instead of paying StudySpaces a subscription strictly because of this feature. Um, because they decided that their recurring prices would be an upcharge over the $10 per student fee. So they no longer have to worry about how much do they pay StudySpaces. They just get a notification that they made the difference every time a student signs up.
All right, this is our last Q&A. I'm going to take a pause here and then see if there are any questions. We are just about at the limit of our Q&A section, so it's timed pretty much perfectly. So we have about 15 minutes if you have any questions, and I'm going to stop the recording here for